Hello Udemy, I am Shakzee from Shakzee.com and welcome in lecture number 18. Today we are going to cover the scope of a variables, or we are defining what is the scope of a variable. For suppose you have two type of variables in this file index.php. Make sure I have created the PHP folder inside my htdocs because I am using XAMPP. Okay, and I keep index.php file inside my PHP folder. Okay, so now here is, for suppose, x and y. First of all, there are two types. First of all, there are two types of variables. One, the global variables. Two, the local variables. Okay, so if you are creating the variables inside the functions, that means those variables are the local variables. Okay, if you are creating the variables outside of a function, that means they are the global variables. Okay, how they works? First of all, you need to okay, so now you have 10 and 20 value, and now you can if you have function like this, for suppose add functions, and in this functions you have add value. For suppose not for you have x equals to 10. Okay, now you can call x, well, x, you can say you have x, you have 50 value inside the x variable. Now go to your page, refresh the page, you can see it's saying 10 because it's not considering this function or method. For suppose if you are calling this function and refresh the page, you can see it's not considering this value. And if you want to call this variable inside the functions, so it's give you the error undefined variable x, because this is the global variables and you are calling this global variable inside your function, so this is illegal. Okay, so now if you have a x variable, for suppose you are saying x variable and you are removing this, so now you have x variables and now you are calling x variable here x. Okay, go to your page, refresh the page, so now it's saying undefined variable x because this is the local variable, so you cannot call outside of a functions. And if you have a variable outside of a function, so you cannot call that variable inside your functions. So this is the problem. So how can you use, or how can you handle this type of problem? For suppose you want to call the x and y variable inside here. For suppose you can add these two variables by calling these functions. Okay, so how can you do that? I'm saying dollar globals and I'm saying pick y plus dollar global and I'm saying x. Okay, now echo this out. Go to your page, refresh the page. So now you can see you are adding these two variable inside the function. So in this way you can access any global variables inside your functions by calling the globals this, by calling this. So make sure all letters are capitals, globals. Okay, so this is the first way. Okay, so now you can always create a static variable. How can you do that? For suppose I am saying I have a function for suppose test, and make sure in this I'm saying I have a static sorry I'm saying I have a static variables name x, okay, and I have x value 0, and now I'm saying echo x and x plus plus. X plus plus, that means we have a x value, we have a 0 stored inside x, we are echoing the 0, after that we are adding 1 inside this variable which is x. So now you can call this method, and now refresh the page, you can see it's saying 0, because you are defining the static variables. After performing some operations, you need this static variables at everywhere, so that's why you are creating the static variables. So there are two approaches, local and global variables. You can also create the static variables inside your functions, but you cannot call your global variables inside your functions, and your local variables which is always available inside your functions, you cannot call those variables from the outside of the functions. So x 10 global, this is the global variables, you cannot call this variable inside the functions. Or if you have a local variables, you cannot directly call outside of the functions. So this is very basic, so that's why we are moving step by step. So in the next lecture we are going to cover some other topics. So for now, thank you for watching.